Hello, it's So, and I just wanted to walk you guys through my current bullet journal setup and how I'm using it nowadays. The notebook that I'm using is a Midori MD A5 blank notebook, and I originally got this as a recommendation from my Instagram followers, and to whoever recommended the Midori A5 notebooks, thank you so much. I really love it. I did choose to get the blank one instead of the dot grid one or even a lined one because in my last bullet journal, I just noticed that the grid really restricted my freedom in terms of where I wanted to place things. I'd always try to line everything up, and for my next bullet journal, I just wanted to have a more free-form experience. So that's why I ended up getting the blank one. So when you open it up, I originally did my usual bullet journaling style, which is to fill everything up with as much color and stickers and paper, like scraps and pieces, because that's how I used to bullet journal. I really enjoyed filling my pages up with a lot of things. And don't get me wrong, I still love that style, but around September, I realized I just don't have that kind of time to sustain that style when I'm working a full-time job. So I started transitioning from a more decorative-based approach to a much more simplistic layout. And as I progress through the pages, I think you can start to tell I'm starting to write a lot more, put less stickers in, just the differences, and I'm starting to explore different weekly layouts. And this is around the time when I started thinking, what if I got a hobonichi, like a hobonichi weeks? And I thought about it for a really long time, and ultimately I ended up deciding to continue with my current bullet journal because one, it's not done yet. I still have a lot of pages left in it. And two, I'm trying to have a low spend month, honestly low spend year, just so I can focus on paying back my student loans. And since I'm going to be starting medical school soon, I'm going to have even more student loans. So that's just something I wanted to keep in mind. Another thing I started changing up about my bullet journal is to start using it as what I've seen referred to as a commonplace journal. I saw it on Instagram in a couple of posts about travelers' notebooks. I don't know if you've seen those notebooks where you have a bunch of notebooks compiled together inside a leather cover. I'll put up a picture if I can find it. But essentially, the accounts that I was following were using their travelers' journals as sort of a commonplace book where they could put down their thoughts or things that they've seen, just collate them all into one place. So I started doing that and I've really enjoyed it. And because I wanted a hobonichi, I figured, what does this desire say about my wants and needs at this time? So my want is I want a hobonichi, partially because of, the aesthetics. Everyone else on StudyGram has it. I want a weekly layout that I can use for my job. I want a new notebook, things like that. But out of those wants, the only thing that is considered a need for me is the fact that a weekly spread is just what works best for me in terms of my current job situation, my lifestyle, things like that. So that's when I transitioned towards using a week's layout that I ripped off from the hobonichi. So I have my weekly layout here on the side with the dates, and then I have a blank space on the other side that I can fill up with to-do lists, or mini reviews, any thoughts about my day. So that way I still maintain the flexibility of a bullet journal while using the structured layout of a week's. Another thing that helped me about this layout is that it really simplified a lot of things for me. Before, I would spend a lot of time thinking about what to put on the page, how I can express my creativity in my journal, how I can really push the boundaries of what it means to have a flexible space. And don't get me wrong, I really loved doing that in college, and I think it was a good avenue for me to exercise my creativity. But nowadays, now that I'm working a full-time job, I just don't have the time to do that anymore. So now I just limit it down to the bare basics. I only use one color. I just do what I have to do. And that's what I've continued doing. This is another example of a commonplace spread where I just put down, articles that I want to read, workouts that I want to do, things that I've learned over the week. And so yeah, same weekly layout, same open space on the other side. And then this week I had a little bit more time, so I just put in a couple of stickers. another commonplace spread. I just made a list of things I want to do that week, meal planning for the day, and then a couple of notes from a student panel I went to for medical school. And then again, more notes. Again, same weekly spread, same empty space on the other side. And this is just a method that's really worked for me. And on my free days, when I do have time, I can go in and put in stickers and really be as creative as I want to be. But for the daily week, I can just focus on getting things done. The three main things that I use for my weekly spreads is 1, the Uniball Jetstream. This is a ballpoint pen. I know before I used to shit on ballpoint pens, and I'll be honest, I still don't enjoy most ballpoint pens, but out of all the ballpoint pens that I've tried, the Uniball Jetstream has been the most consistent in terms of even ink flow, having a thin tip, which I really appreciate. And I also like that with a ballpoint pen, I can highlight immediately rather than wait, because that's the one thing I didn't like about gel pens. When I would highlight over them, they'd smear immediately unless I waited a while. So that's what I've been using, the Uniball Jetstream 0.5 tip. The second thing I use is this Stabilo pen. I bought this from a local stationery shop by my college campus, but I'm sure you could get them on Amazon or JetPens or something like that. And I just like this as a bold tip for me to write down my dates or the titles of any of the commonplace entries that I do. So I've just really enjoyed using this. And the third thing are my mildliners. During my stationery no-buy, I realized that I don't actually use all of the mildliner colors, and I only ever really use them to highlight over things. I don't really use them a lot for decoration or things like that. And so pairing them with the ballpoint pen has been really nice, because now I can highlight a lot more than I used to without worrying about the inks smearing. And then during my stationery no-buy, I decluttered a lot of my stationery and kept only the colors that I use on a daily basis. So that's been really useful, and I get a lot of use out of every one of these colors instead of just using one or two the most often. So you can see all these pages, I'm consistently using every color that I carry with me. So that's been really nice. I'll usually pick one color for the week, which is green, and then I have my headings and then my main body all covered with these 3 pens. And it's also diminished a lot of what I carry around on a daily basis in my pencil pouch, so that's also been really helpful. A fourth optional thing, for me, I feel like it's pretty necessary because I love having straight lines, but I know some people just don't really care about straight lines. I just like carrying around my trusty ruler with me so that I can make sure all the lines that I draw are as straight as possible. These are all the materials that I use for my weekly spreads now. I'm gonna walk you guys through how I construct it. It's pretty simple, but I figured you guys might wanna know the dimensions so you can recreate it as well if you need to. For my weekly spreads, the width is 3 centimeters for each. So I'm just gonna go in, line up my ruler, and then I just like dotting just as a guideline, you know? This is optional, but I just have a tendency to mess up my lines very frequently. So when I draw my actual lines, I just like drawing them in pencil so I can erase them and redraw them as needed. But honestly, you can just go in with your ballpoint pen and then that would diminish the amount of things you have to carry around. But you know, I just mess up very often. Now I'm gonna go in and add in the dates as well as the names of the weekdays in between. Then I'm gonna go in with my highlighter and then highlight the days of the week. And my color for the week is probably going to be purple. It's just what I'm feeling today. And then from here, I'm just gonna fill out, you know, whatever important events that I have. And if they're pretty important, I'll go in and highlight them. Like I've written down some of the important meetings that I have as well as their times, and I'll highlight them. But since I'm filming this in advance, I actually don't know what I have this week. So for now, it's gonna be blank. But overall, do you see how simple and easy that was? That's what's been really beneficial for me because I know I can set up my week in less than 5 minutes. I know what I have to do. It's very straightforward, and then I can concentrate on getting the rest of my tasks done at my job. So that's just been working for me. And then, you know, As I continue to read or listen to podcasts or find interesting posts on social media, I can add them in the future blank spreads as commonplace entries, like I've done here. This is for a book that I've read and another book that I've read, and then, you know, things that I've just seen over the past couple of weeks. So that's what's been working for me. That's what's been really helpful. And that's also the reason why I'm not gonna get a hobonichi. I honestly feel a little silly for making a whole video about such a simple concept, but so many of you guys have asked me about how I set up my weekly spreads and the exact dimensions and why I'm doing it. So here's your long-winded answer to that. I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!